Hello, and welcome to Talking Your Walk. And today's guest is the wonderful Mike Barron, who is the current Vice Chair of the College of Sound Healing. He's also a bone technique practitioner and lives in a little smallholding, organic smallholding here in the Welsh borders. I've known Mike for a number of years, so let's get straight over to Mike. And Mike, can I ask you, what kind of child were you? What kind of childhood did you have? And
okay, hi,
where
June.
did you grow up?
Just to say hi, June, thanks for having me on. And what kind of a child was I? Well, initially, up to the age of about 10, I had an idyllic childhood. I was a child of three boys, middle child, to parents who were both teachers, so that they had a steady income. So everything was great. Then I went to America, to California, on a trip with a cousin, and that's where I was initially abused in California by a member of the family. And of course, that changes everybody's life and everybody's outlook. And I became far more inward looking and frightened of situations. And I think that whatever experience we have along the lines of physical or mental or whatever kind of abuse it is, and forever how long it lasts, there are depths that we have to then re-find ourselves. So it took me several years to come back to that happy-go-lucky state. And I think I was probably about 16 by then, and at a very, very ordinary secondary comprehensive school, which I was thankful for because it had a diverse, intake, and you could learn a lot. So I was learning a lot, not only at school, but from all the different people that I was having interactions with. That fear in me came out in an incident where I lost my 6 front teeth. So that I'd say I was cheeky. I was testing situations all the time, boundaries, and the universe was setting them for me. And that's how it goes, So from that time on, from about 16, I was doing my A-levels when I had an encounter with my grandmother one morning, who had died several years previously. But there was no doubt about it. She was sat on my bed talking to me as I awoke. So it wasn't a dream. It wasn't me imagining in it. It was more real than virtually anything I'd experienced so far. She was very understanding, and she said she wanted to give me a vision of what my life would be like if I carried on with my A-levels and went into 3D design and that kind of thing, which my father taught at the Polytechnic. And subsequently then would go on to be a set designer or work for the BBC or something like that. I had this vision. It didn't look that fantastic. And she said, the alternative is you can leave school today and go and get a job, and you might learn a lot more. And I actually took that on board, and I went back to school that day and left school. After having taken my mocks and done pretty well, got an A and a B, and I was retaking some GCSEs at the time, but left it all behind on the basis of that encounter with my grandmother. So thanks, Grandma. It set me on my path. I'll stop talking now, June.
So then what did you do? What sort of job did you do when you left school? What did you get into then?
Well, first of all, if you remember, it was 1979. There was lots of unemployment. The interest rates were in the 20% somewhere. So there wasn't a lot of jobs around. So I just took anything I could get. I took 3 part-time jobs and a night watchman's job, although I was too young for it, lied about my age. And then one day went down to the job centre because I thought I needed something that had more sort of meat on the bones. And I was directed to go down to BP Chemicals, great big office in Manchester. And I looked through the smoked glass doors at this incredible sort of high-tech office for the time. and I just turned around and walked away, and I thought, this isn't for me. And when I got back to the job centre, they sent me to cabinet makers, where I got an apprenticeship as a joiner.
And you became a master joiner as well, didn't you?
Well, eventually, you know, it took several years, but I was very lucky that the guy that took me on was a master craftsman, and he gave us a 5-year apprenticeship, and we worked all over Manchester. We restored antiques, built offices, all sorts of different diverse woodworking jobs, which gave me a great start in that world. And I felt so confident by the time I was 25, 26, that I went self-employed and started my own business.
And I know you had the experience with your grandmother, but when did you start getting into the holistic practices that you do now? What was the catalyst there?
Okay, so we made it to when I was in business with my stepbrother, and we, like everybody else at the time, was being offered huge amounts of money by banks to grow, because we were coming out of that deep recession that I mentioned earlier. We didn't want to do that, so we decided to emigrate to West Africa, to the Gambia. And while I was there, I started to have more of these, what I call extraordinary reality, daytime dreaming of past lives, where I'd been an English soldier in the Gambia, and the drumming that was around us at the time. We were living on a compound with Gambians living on the compound with us, and they were drumming every night. So I was falling asleep every night to this shamanic drumming and having incredible experiences and wondering what on earth was going on. So that was another sort of insight into this world of holistic being, where we understand that everything is alive, that everything is recorded, that we have multiple lives, that we have multiple understandings, and that there's nothing really, if you follow that reincarnation line, there's nothing to forgive, because we've received and done everything possible by now, which is possibly why there are so many people here on earth at these times.
Yeah. And so how long did you stay in Africa for?
So we were there for about 2 years without a break, and then I fell ill. I got dysentery, so I had to come home and restart again. We dissolved our partnership, and I moved to Wales. So that's where the story really starts, when I met Liz, my current partner, who I run a healing practice with and do so much with. We decided we'd both sort of come out of long-term relationships, and decided to do Reiki, which you know all about. So we did Reiki together, and that opened up a kind of memory, a kind of lost memory of all the experiences that I've just been talking about. They all came flooding back and needed rearranging and sifting through. And I found that the Reiki could bring you into a very calm space. And again, that state of extraordinary reality where it becomes easily believable that you've had these past lives and interacted with one another. And Liz and I started to have dreams of where we had past lives together and interacted with each other. And we started to visit the places that we'd been dreaming about. And so that became very intense. And then we met Simon Heather, who you of course know, the founder of the College of Sound Healing, and his shamanic practice work that I followed, and the sound healing, and subsequently taught the sound healing with the college, and now teach the sacred drumming through Stephen Ash and Renata Ash through the College of Sound Healing once again. So the College of Sound Healing has become a kind of focus for that holistic practice, especially for the shamanic work. And eventually I gave up being a furniture maker and retrained as a Bowen therapist. And to be honest, this lockdown has been a relief in some sense, because we were so busy with clients and teaching that we didn't know where we were going to go next. So it's been a great pause and a great time for reflection. And I, for one, am not desperate for everything to return to normal, because I think it wasn't normal what was happening. And it's a chance for everybody to reflect, from the people who make the big decisions to the people who make the little decisions.
And, you know, obviously there's been times in your life when those changes have came about. There must have been an element of fear of the unknown, or, you know, how did you cope with that if you felt that?
Absolutely. The fear is the key, they say, don't they, to unlocking a door to yourself. And I feel as though that, as we mentioned earlier before we went live, that these times are bringing people's fears to the surface, because people got time to think about it. We're not rushing around so much. So how did it work for me? Well, I think I've always embraced fear. I used to ride motorcycles very, very quickly and fell off them a lot. So I obviously wasn't that good at it. Clocked up quite a lot of fractures. And through that pain and the fear of getting on the bike again, that was an introduction for me to overcome fears, and fears to go out again in society after being beaten. You have to overcome your fears. Some sort of catalyst, whatever that catalyst is, and sometimes it's another fear. Sometimes it's incredible love that someone can give you. It'll be different for everybody else, but when you find the key to let go of those fears, then you realize that in the present moment, there's nothing to be frightened about. It's only a projection from the past into the future. And this is something I learned through the college, and the use of mantra and prayer and song, that even our negative phrases that we reiterate to our friends and family and people we meet are our song. They are our mantra, and they are creating the past into the future through the present mantra. So I started to understand that keeping positive, keeping a good view on the future, a positive view, thinking about the positive things from the past rather than the negative, and letting that feeling build in your heart, so that you get away from this empirical sense of foreboding, and you go into the heart space of now and joy and love and acceptance.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's I think so much needed just now as well, because there's so many people feeling fear at the moment, maybe losing their lifestyle or their jobs, or maybe in some cases their relationships, their houses, and for a lot of people maybe their health, and for, of course, a percentage their lives. So what sort of mantras were useful to you when you were going through and going through? Was there any particular ones that you would?
Well, yes. Well, there are the ancient mantras that you can connect into if you can find a Sanskrit mantra course. When Simon Heather still runs one, or runs you can buy a CD from the college. That connects you into that timeless sense of people offering themselves to the divine, if you like, and to receive guidance and calmness. So all of those, the Gayatri, Mrityunjaya, there's so many. But then I realized, and it wasn't my own self-realization, but it comes from teachers, that our own mantras are our best mantras. So I started to make my own up, my own little songs. Find yourself sitting by a stream and saying to yourself, well, what is there to worry about? Because I'm happy and healthy. I'm well loved and wealthy. My body is strong, and I can go on and on with love in my heart. So that's one of my mantras.
That's beautiful.
very simple, about yourself. So it's about, yes, we can use other people's mantras, and great sages gives us an access to getting into that heart space, but then ultimately it's better to convince ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. I have a little mantra that I've been doing now for about 30 years, and it's, I am beautiful, I am free, I am happy to be me. And that's it.
Beautiful. What else do you need?
That's it. So, you know, you do all of your courses, your workshops and your treatments at your smallholding. Obviously, you're not opened at the moment, but, you know, when we resume, are you going to be going back to that? Are you still going to reopen the centre? And
Yes, but in a different way. I think seeing less clients and being able to then have the energy to help in a different way, which is through the sacred drumming. And I'm starting to make videos, short videos about the sacred drumming, so that people can access very quickly the power of what our ancestors have very bravely been keeping for us in all the tribes all over the world. There's a reason that it's all coming back now, because it's simple, it's not high tech, it's to do with the circadian rhythms of the body, connecting with the heart, listening with the ears of the heart, seeing with the eyes of the heart, all that. And so hopefully that's what this time is giving us, is the time to reevaluate, to find some more confidence, to get in front of the screen and make videos with our phones. Because although phones have there's negative things about all this technology, but it can be used for great good. There are some beautiful people doing some beautiful, simple little videos on Facebook and other platforms at the moment, and that's what we need.
And will you be then offering most of your courses online, or will you still, because you do drum making workshops as well, don't you?
That's right. Very difficult to do that online, I think.
Yeah.
And I would prefer to do all of the voice work and the shamanic work with small groups here at Penycumb. But the college at the moment is going through a process of making all these courses that we share at the moment accessible online, in online formats. So from a short course that you can buy to joining a Zoom course with a tutor, and all that will be available within the next few weeks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'll look out for that, and obviously we'll share those details when they come about.
Thanks, Jim.
So, any other plans for the future for yourself, Mike? Is there?
Yes, well, I think to take this sacred drumming, I keep calling it sacred drumming. What is it? Well, it's really about connecting to our ancestors and sharing this ancient wisdom, ancient ways, for this present moment, where people can find very simple ways without pharmaceuticals, just using a drum or a rattle, a feather or a stone, to find security, to find focus, to find allies. This extraordinary reality is extraordinary, and there's a lot to discover. We're only touching the surface. I think our ancestors knew a lot more than we did, and probably had the weather sorted and all sorts of other things, in a kind of reciprocating way, rather than forcing things and using technology. And I think that's where human focus needs to go now, not to ditch technology, but to use it for good.
Yes. And you know, when you think of the increase in the sort of popularity, should I say, of sound healing, say the last 5 years, it's been absolutely phenomenal.
Incredible,
I mean,
right?
it's, to me, it's just wonderful, and to see what people are bringing, not only learning, you know, the mantras are the drumming and things like that, but them bringing in their own sort of skills and creating, you know, a different type, you know, gong baths. They've exploded. They're, you know, they're in every town and city now in Britain, which, and going overseas to places where they were never held before. And that, you know, Glastonbury's got a huge sound healing tent now. There's people doing gong baths there, and then, you know, you've got Sheila Whitaker doing, you know, her 24-hour sessions, and, you know, and I think it's just phenomenal the amount of sound healers that are coming to the fore now. You know, I never thought I would see that in my lifetime. I always thought that was going to be something that would take about 50 years. But, you know, as you say, this is a time where maybe everything that was before has come to be again now. Do you see, you know, the college sort of expanding on what they're teaching at the moment, and maybe starting to do more online would appeal to a much more international audience, as opposed to maybe a UK-based audience? Although I know a lot of them do some work in Southern Ireland, in Ireland as well. You've got some people doing some work in Ireland. So what do you think your thoughts are for the college at the moment?
I think that we're very lucky that the college has a very diverse base of, from all the way, you mentioned Sheila Whitaker, who used to work in a well-known orchestra. So people with highly developed intellectual musical skills, right down to people like me who can't read music, but can make sounds. And so right across that spectrum. So a bit like the plethora of holistic therapies that there are supporting the health service, although none of us are very much at the moment, but I hope that comes back soon. And I think the health service will feel that uptake, in that we need everybody to be on board.
Yeah.
So like there's a therapy for everybody's different view, everybody's different understanding, from reflexology to, you know, full-blown shamanic work, from Bowen therapy, all the way, you know, again, all the way across the spectrum. So for sound, it's still beautiful pop music being made, beautiful dance music being made, trance music being made, and then the use of the voice and mantra. So across the whole board, it's just a wonderful thing that, as you say, June, that it's taking off in such a big way. And not just that, it's these things on the TV that we see, isn't it? It's the guy that goes, I've forgotten his name now, that goes around teaching groups to sing that never thought they could sing before.
Yeah.
And taking them to concert level. Everybody has a voice. Everybody can make sounds. Everybody has the divine right, as we know through Reiki, to heal themselves. And that's where the placebo effect really needs to be explained to people in a deeper way, I feel. That this Latin phrase, vis medicatrix, that which heals, has been hidden from us. That the placebo is actually the healing element within us, that we can all access. And that's what really takes over when we relax people in a holistic session. We're getting them into a deep state of relaxation where they access their own inner healing. And then anything can happen. Because it's our own divine spark connected to the big divine fire.
And it's been documented so often now, and I love the way that TV and radio and all of them are showing more and more programs now. You know, more people are opening up to it and sharing that, you know, to massive audiences, which can only, to me, be a good thing. You know, yes. So I just think it's all wonderful. So if people want to get a hold of you, Mike, if they want to find out more about what you're doing, what's the best website address for them to go to?
I think the easiest way is to go to mikebarron.co.uk, and from there they'll find out exactly what I'm currently doing, and there'll be links there to the College of Sound Healing website, where they can see what I do with the college, and of course what all the tutors and all the input and the huge amount of research that Simon and others have brought to the college website. If they can't find something they're interested through myself or one of the tutors, there is so much on that website. It's a great portal to start at, and then wherever you end up, you're going to have a great time.
Oh, that sounds great. Okay, well, Mike, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your walk with us as well, and for the information and some advice in there too. And especially thanks for how you cope with your fears, because I'm sure that will help some people that are watching this today. So all I can say is thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's so good to see you again.
Great. Thanks, June. See you soon.
Take care. Bye
Bye-bye.
now.